Welcome to the Bristol Sports Hall of Fame 2018 Induction Program Celebration. Let's introduce the class of 2018. Carl Hall. Paul Nabu Sr. Accepting for Paul Nabu is his granddaughter, Susan Nabu. Maury Libera. John Petke.
Joe DeFlippi, Gail Erickson, Bob Freemuth, Joanne Galati, Chris Giglia, Mike Giovinazzo, Jack Hines, Mary Ellen Holden, Beth Lafferty, Phil Manarino, Dave Mills, Spec Monaco, Bob Montgomery, Mike Moran, Tom Moylan, Rick O'Brien, Bernie O'Keefe, Gary Palladino, Phil Pirog, Dave Raponi, Willie Rochert, Ed Swickless, Ray Talion, Don Titus, Ginny Tereso, Michael Walton, Mike Ziogas, Jim Ziogas, Bob Zisk, and the Bristol Tramps organization. Let's have a round of applause for our Hall of Fame. And now I would ask for a moment of silence for our departed inductees who've left us in the past year, as well as the innocent victims of recent mass shootings, and for our departed veterans who gave their lives to ensure freedom for all of us. A moment of silence, please. Thank you. The colors of our country being in place, I would ask that you all please rise and join with me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. And now I would like to call on Father Joe DeShaka to give the invocation. Father.
Thank you again. Good evening, and let us pray. Gracious and ever-loving God, creator of all things and giver of our human talents and abilities, we thank you for bringing us here together this evening as we honor extraordinary men and women with outstanding athletic and leadership qualities. In our ceremony this evening, we come together recognizing people from the city of Bristol who have displayed potential from their youth, become accomplished adults, and now stand as role models for each one of us. Bless us this evening, mighty God, with the spirit of your kindness and a spirit of thanksgiving. Bless the food we share. May it nourish us in mind and body and spirit. We pray to you, O God, hear and answer our prayer. Amen.
Thank you. If you've not already started, please enjoy your salad while we continue with the rest of the program. But please give me your attention too while you're doing that. Thank you. At this time, I would like to introduce, may I have it quiet, please? Introduce city officials who are here with us today. City Councilman Dave Mills. City Councilman Peter Kelly. City Councilwoman Mary Fortier. State Senator Henry Martin. And former Mayor Art Ward. And now it is my pleasure to call upon the President of the Bristol Sports Hall of Fame, Jack Hines, for words of welcome.
Thank you, Dave. Good evening. I know I speak for the officers and directors of the Hall of Fame when I welcome you and thank you for attending tonight's induction program. I congratulate the class of 2018 and welcome them into the Bristol Sports Hall of Fame family. Since being founded by Bob Montgomery and the late John Fortunato, 185 deserving men and women have been inducted into the Hall of Fame. Tonight's program allows us to celebrate 8 new members who have made a lasting contribution to Bristol's rich sports history, both on and off the field. The program and events the Hall of Fame has been a part of for the last 20 years has only been possible because of the dedication of its board of directors and the support over the years of the Bristol community. In closing, I want to thank the Board of Directors for a job well done. I congratulate the Hall of Fame group, and I thank you for your continued support of the Bristol Sports Hall of Fame. Thank you very much. Enjoy your evening.
At this time, it is my pleasure to introduce to you the Mayor of the City of Bristol, Mayor Ellen Zappo-Sasso, for words of welcome.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you for having me. This time last year, this dinner was one of my first events after being elected. And I'd like to say thank you to everyone tonight who has said, how's it going? How's the first year? And I can tell you that for the last year, it's been both good and bad. You get the calls about the E. coli and the water department distribution system that potentially services ESPN. Okay, we can deal with that. You hear calls in the middle of the night about SWAT teams going out or fire department engine companies being dispatched to other towns to provide mutual support, and you think about those guys and whether they're going to come back, and you can deal with that. You think about code enforcement and the people that on a Friday afternoon in the summer you're evicting from their apartments because they can't live there anymore, and we deal with it. But when you get a call from your park department superintendent and then you get a text from Chris Casson, and you think, whoa, I wonder what this is about. There is nothing that has struck fear more in the last year than to hear the park superintendent say, not quite sure Muzzy's gonna be playable on Thanksgiving Day. So, I stand before you today saying we are going to make that work, and on behalf of all those names that are on that back wall and the traditions that are so important here, just be kind when we think about the budget in the spring and it costs me lots of money to restore that field. Thank you.
Thank you. And now I would like to introduce the Vice President of the Bristol Sports Hall of Fame, Bob Callett.
Thank you, Dave. You know, Art Ward once told me that it would be a cold day in hell when Maury Lavero got elected into the Hall of Fame, and I guess that's true. Right, Art? All right, I want to welcome everybody to the 22nd Annual Bristol Sports Hall of Fame Induction Program. Shortly, we will meet the class, hear from them, and officially welcome them in. But first, a few announcements. First of all, I'd like to ask Sharon Fortunato, wife of co-founder John Fortunato, to please stand up and be recognized. Sharon. Sharon, without John and without Bob Montgomery, we would not be here tonight. So thank you. Congratulations to Mary Ellen Holden, class of 2013, who was a recipient of a Good Sport Award by the Connecticut Sports Writer Alliance early this year. Mary Ellen is over there in the corner. Mary Ellen, congratulations. Congratulations also to Paul LaFleur from the class of 2013 for his induction into the Connecticut American Legion Baseball Hall of Fame early this year. Paul's not here, but a nice award. Next, Adrian Wojnarowski, class of 2017, last year, who was named Sports Writer of the Year by the National Sports Media Association. And speaking of Adrian, the Bristol Boys and Girls Club will be hosting a benefit breakfast with UConn men's coach Dan Hurley and Adrian Wojnarowski. And on your table is a pamphlet with all that information. So hopefully that you can take a look at it and maybe support it, and they can make some money for it. So take a look at it, and it's a good cause. Congratulations also to Armin Chenier, class of 2005, who early this year was inducted into the Connecticut Football Officials Hall of Fame. I know Armin's not here, but a nice award. A great guy. Great guy. And finally, congratulations to Chris D'Amato, Spec Monaco, and Chris Watts, who were honored by the Tramps earlier this year. Chris D'Amato and Speck are here. I know Chris isn't, but congratulations to those individuals for that nice award. I think you saw by when Dave Greenleaf introduced all the past inductees, I think we have 35 past inductees here, which is really a tribute to this organization that they come back every year and support us. So thank you all to the past inductees for continuing to come in and support us. And as you can see by these awards, some of these inductees are still receiving, getting into Hall of Fames and getting into recognition, so they're not stopping after they've been inducted. Now, the Hall of Fame has a very successful program at the Historical Society this past June entitled The History of St. Anthony's High School Sports. John Fasola chaired it, and it included Maury Lavero, Phil Manarino, Bob Fiandella, and Tom Burke. And I know that John, Phil, and of course Maury is here, so those guys did a great job, so I just want to thank you again for putting on a great program at the Historical Society. Now, after the St. Anthony's program, I received an email from an individual who suggested something for our program for next year. Now, this individual suggested that we do a program titled The Sports History of Dave Raponi. Now, I'm not sure if this will work, but I do want to thank Dave for making that suggestion. Thank you, Dave. You don't have to stand up, Dave. That's okay. And now a few thank yous. I do want to thank Christine Millay and Eddie and the entire staff of the Doubletree for another great event, and also to the First Bristol Federal Credit Union for their sponsorship again of the VIP reception. Thank you. Special thanks to Patty Callett and Pat Parenti for working the registration table again this year. They're really pros at it, so thank you, ladies, Pat and Patty, for doing that. And just a reminder that Nutmeg TV is again taping this program, and on your tables is a schedule when tonight's event will be reshown. And actually, it's going to be, that has significance this year because, as many of you know, we were sold out very early, and a lot of people couldn't make it. So if you know someone that couldn't be here tonight, you may want to pass on to them when the event will be shown again on Nutmeg TV in its entirety, and they'll be able to see the whole program. All inductees will be receiving a complimentary copy of tonight's program, and inductees are also reminded to take the pictures that were hanging in the foyer on your way out tonight. Those are for yours to take home. Art Ward said he wanted to take Maury's and use it for a dartboard, but he'll have to fight him over it. I don't know.
I didn't say that, Mark.
Yes, he did. Yes, you did. You told me that. I want to thank the induction committee for their hard work and support to make this night successful. Dave Greenleaf, Ellie Wilson, Tom Reganey, Bob Freeman, Hal Kilby, and John Calpetro. Please stand up and be recognized. They did a great job. I also want to thank all the directors for their support to make this induction booklet successful. We have great support from the Bristol community, and many of you in here tonight support that booklet, and I thank you for that. And now a couple special recognitions. First to Linda Manarino, who had the huge task of ticket sales this year and table assignments. So I think Linda might be in the hallway, but anyway, I'd like to give her a round of applause for all the work she did. And another special thank you to my co-chairman, Hank Lodge, who again this year, not only maintains our excellent website, but puts in numerous hours preparing the pictures you're going to see later on tonight. So Hank, stand up and be recognized, please. Where is he? Oh, he's in the back. Okay. And thanks again to the man behind the scenes, Tom Mazzarella, who is actually showing the videos and putting that all together tonight. And I also want to congratulate Tom, who this year received the very first Bristol All Heart Award from the city of Bristol. So Tom, congratulations on that award too. I would like to encourage everyone to visit our excellent website, bshof.org, where you can see past inductee speeches. We have a vast variety of scrapbooks of Bristol sports organizations with pictures and information, and you can also nominate individuals online. And also new this year, thanks to Tom Mazzarella, we do have a new Facebook page for you to view to keep updated on our Hall of Fame events. So a lot of information out there on the Hall of Fame if you are so inclined. And now at this point, we will have our annual Alumni Moment segment. Tom?
Good evening. Thank you, Tom, for those kind words. If my parents were here, my father would have smiled and my mother would have believed you. And thanks to the selection committee for considering me worthy of induction. I understand the vote was 5-4. Just want to get away from script for a minute and tell you how it kind of started and why I'm glad they had a community service category, because I knew I wasn't going to get in on the athletic side. And getting to know the legendary coach, Jack Ramsey, a little bit, after talking to him 3 or 4 times, I said to him, Coach, I'd like to give you a little bit of my background. I said, I'm 5'6", 200 pounds, and 15 years ago, I held Johnny Egan to 36 points. I said, can you use me? And he said, I'd like to suggest you stay in banking. Can you hear me in the back? Okay. I was speaking a couple of weeks ago, and some guy in the back said, I can't hear you. The guy in front said, I can hear him. Why don't we change seats? Tonight, the achievements of a number of individuals are being recognized as primarily gifted athletes. In basketball, we recall a great pass to a teammate makes us think of Willie Ross Shirt and Darryl Floyd. In football, memories of John Benzinger. In baseball, the ping of the ball as the ball connects with the bat. You have to think of Matt Wilson and Joey Jandreau. The ball connecting with the bat is something my friend Mark Siogas never experienced. Mark couldn't be with us tonight. I guess there were no free tickets. He's gonna kill me.
As many of you know, Jack Hines was recently inducted into the Hartford Public High School Hall of Fame less than 2 weeks ago. And tonight marks the last official duty of Jack as president of the Hall of Fame. Jack has served as executive director as well as president. Jack will be missed by all of us at the Hall of Fame. We wish Jack the best as he now takes on a well-deserved break from all he does for the Hall of Fame. We wish you the best, Jack. So please stand up and be recognized for all the work you've done, not only for the Hall of Fame, but for the community. Now, finally, tonight is a very special night for our inductees, their families, and their friends. I ask your cooperation in being courteous and respectful during your speeches so that it will be a night to remember. And now back to Dave. Thank you.
Thank you. Each of our inductees has been given 5 minutes to prepare a speech. I've just been asked to remind you all that the weather outside is getting colder and the roads are starting to get a little slippery, so stick to your script and stick to your 5 minutes. Now it's my pleasure to introduce the gentleman who has presented our awards for all of the last 22 years, Mr. Tom Monahan.
Dave, thanks a lot. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. I want you to sit back and take it easy now, because for the next few minutes we'll be talking about and hearing from 8 of the top athletes in the city of Bristol. So let's get it underway. And our first inductee is Carl Hall. Carl was an outstanding running back for the first Bristol Central team to ever qualify for the CIAC state playoffs, that being in 1979. In his senior year, he led the city, the conference, state, and all of New England in rushing yards, points scored, and 28 touchdowns. He also tied the state record of most touchdowns in one game. Good evening to you.
If my parents were here, my father would have smiled.
Well, you want to do it again, Jack? In track as a senior, Carl was undefeated in the 100, 200, and 400-yard events. He also won the Class L state championship in the 200, and he came in second in the 100 in 1980. He holds the school record of 9.8 seconds in the 100-yard event. At Bristol Central, he was also all-conference and all-state in track and in football. He later enjoyed a great career at the University of Pennsylvania. He won all Ivy League honors in track, winning 8 varsity letters in the process. In football, he started for 3 years at Penn, won 3 varsity letters, and is one of the top 10 receivers in the history of that school. The inductee is Carl Hall.
I hear you, Jim. Take out my cheaters. Good evening, everyone. I would like to thank the Hall of Fame committee for this great honor and to congratulate all the other inductees for their tremendous accomplishments. I would like to also thank Daryl Buchanan and John Calapetro for their tireless efforts to get all my pictures together, as well as calling up people and getting my friends and families here. First off, I would like to thank a person who is always around but hardly gets the recognition that he deserves, and that is Dave Greenleaf. Dave kept the stats for our team, and it was a very integral part of my success. He would come in and let the coaches know how we were doing, how many first downs we were giving up, and how many yards I needed in order to achieve my accomplishments. Phyllis Springer, who took all the lovely photographs, not only for our team, but all over Bristol as well. I would like to thank my first athletic coach, who happens to be my cousin, Tony Floyd. I think he's coached everyone in this room. He was my first coach down at Rockwell Park, where we played in the Summer League. The Bristol Boys Club with Rex Hamilton and Gary Fleming and Sean Hayes was very important part of the upbringing as a young athlete. Jim Bates Sr., who I played on his 12, 13, and 14 and under state championship basketball teams. In the high school, there was Ralph Papazian and Tom Bruni, Bob DeSantis, Al Mancini, and Dave Talmadge. Special thanks goes out to Richie and Brian Godbout, as well as Gary Pearson, who worked with me the summer of my senior year and showed me the skills that were necessary in order to be successful running back. Doug Jackson. Doug Jackson was my high school, my football idol when I was a little kid, and I watched him play at Bristol Central and admired him. Later, Doug would recruit me to go to Penn, where I played football and ran track. My hat goes off to Pat Perenni, who was my track coach up at Central. He would come out there on Saturday mornings when he didn't have to, and he would train myself, my brother, and a few others that would go to practice on Saturdays doing ladders and making us better. Okay, I would be remiss without thanking my great offensive line that I had. We had senior captain center was Dave Surtak. We have Hall of Famer John Benzinger, who got inducted last year. Jimmy Howard was one of our tackles. And of course, Chuck Nolan, probably the best blocking fullback that has ever come out of Bristol. He blocked in 3 years, the tailbacks that he blocked for gained over 7,000 yards. Okay? Okay, indeed, I truly had a lot of help with these accomplishments, but I can narrow it down to 6 people who were an integral part of my success. The first 3 are brothers, Jimmy, John, and David Bro. They're the Bro brothers from the Hill. The Hill is where I live, by an Indian Trail near Cedar Lake. Every day, rain or shine, snow or sleet, we'd be playing football, basketball, baseball, and even street hockey at Bro Stadium. That is where I learned the skills that it took to be successful. The next 2 people are my parents. They can't be with us. They passed away. But there was Florine Floyd Hall and James Roy Hall Sr. What they did was they instilled in me the drive to become successful, and they encouraged me throughout my high school and college careers to be the best I possibly could. And finally, it's my brother, Jim Hall Jr. Jim was the captain of the track team, and he was the starting safety and punt returner on the varsity football team. Not many of you know this, but Jim is also a black belt in Taekwondo. Okay, and through the training that I received sparring with Jim in the backyard enabled me to be able to endure the aches and pains that comes along with athletics. Okay, Jim is the one who showed me how to be an athlete. Jim showed me how to compete, and Jim showed me how to be successful. And I thank him for that. And I would just like to say that Jim is the best role model that I ever could have had. And I thank you, Jim. Good evening, everyone. Have a good night.
Good job, Carl. Our next inductee is the late Paul Naveau Sr. Back in 1940, World War II caused the cancellation of the Olympic Summer Games, and with it went the Olympic hopes of Paul Naveau. He was a member of the Bristol Boys Club's Strength and Health Club weightlifters from 1935 through 1950. He was a multi-Connecticut and New England weightlifting champion. He won his first state title in 1936, and he did it again the following year. Then, in 1938, he won second place at the AAU Senior National Competition. In 1940, he won the AAU Championship and received a letter from the U.S. Olympic Committee inviting him to take part in the 1940 Olympic Games. But because of the war, that was not to be. He set state records in the press and snatch and a national record in the clean and jerk competitions. His total of 565 pounds was the best in the nation for his class in 1940. And during World War II, Paul and a group of his fellow competitors organized an exhibition in order to raise funds for the Kits for Bristol Servicemen Committee. They sold tickets for $1.80 per person, and they raised $519.48. Darn good amount in those days. So let's welcome into the Hall of Fame tonight the late Paul Naveau Sr. and accepting for Paul his granddaughter, Susan Naveau.
Congratulations, Susan.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm Susan Naveau. I'm the granddaughter of Paul Naveau Sr. I'm here tonight with Paul's son Donald, his daughter Arlene, daughter-in-law Jeanette, and several of his grandchildren and great-grandchildren. And we would like to thank the Bristol Sports Hall of Fame for this wonderful honor. I would also like to thank Bernie O'Keefe for being just so helpful and so kind in getting through this process. Paul Sr. died in 2002 at the age of 86. And although he is not here with us physically, I know he's here in spirit tonight. He wouldn't miss this. Paul was more than just a resident of Bristol. He loved this city and established himself in the community in a variety of ways. As a young person, he was an active member of the Bristol Boys Club and their Strength and Health Club weightlifters. He went on also to volunteer at the Boys Club, where he instructed and supervised young men who were eager to learn the sport of weightlifting. He was very proud, as we all are, of his many weightlifting awards and accomplishments. Paul also served as an auxiliary officer with the Bristol Police Department for more than 25 years. He's fondly remembered as the officer directing traffic in and out of St. Anne's Church every Sunday. Paul was also very proud of his decades-long career as a local meat cutter. He worked for years at Fulton's Market, Pettit, Snazzo's. My siblings and I recall a childhood memory where we came to visit him at work. He took us for a tour behind the scenes, and we watched as he lifted a side of beef, which was almost as big as he was, off the meat hook and tossed it onto a table. And I was recently told that he had quite a reputation for lifting alone what would normally require two men. So it's very meaningful for my family to be here tonight to honor and to remember Paul Sr., to keep his memory alive, and to know that he'll have a permanent place in Bristol's history. So again, thank you for this honor.
Morris Lavero. Maury has been a member of the Bristol Boys and Girls Club for nearly 50 years, and for more than 20 years, he's also served as the Bristol Parks Commissioner. In both capacities, he has helped shape the lives of the city's youth, not only in athletics, but also away from sports, a key factor in the daily lives of the kids in the city in Bristol. In 1958, he was the Bristol Boys Club Boy of the Year. He's a product of the city's West End, a graduate of Park Street School and St. Anthony High School. In high school, he played soccer, basketball, and baseball. He was captain of that legendary 1960 St. Anthony's basketball team that was a runner-up in the CIAC state tournament. And for that great new Boys and Girls Club facility on West Street, he was instrumental in the drive to raise funds to build it. He served in the National Guard for 6 years. He's a former board director of Bristol Hospital and currently a board member for Bristol Public Works. Welcome into the Hall of Fame tonight, Maury Lavero.
Congratulations, Maury. I didn't make a speech tonight, and because too many people were telling me what to say, so I thought I would wing it. I'd like to congratulate the other honorees. It's an honor to be in the class of 2008, which is, I think we have a very nice group. All my life, I've been involved with sports in Bristol in one way or another. And I think Bristol is one of the best sports towns there is in Connecticut. And because of that, I think we have the best volunteers you can find anywhere. We get so much done in Bristol. Wasn't for the volunteers, we wouldn't have Little Leagues, we wouldn't have American Legion, any sports, and we wouldn't have the best Boys and Girls Club in the United States right now. And that's all because of volunteers. And when they asked me to get into this, I really didn't want it. But then I thought about it, and I got to see firsthand what this committee does to keep sports going in Bristol. All the work they do, it's unbelievable. And they have, my two lead people that I had a contact was Bob Callett and Bob Freeman. First of all, Bob Callett said, if you mention me, you could talk as long as you want. And then Bob Freeman says, you got to say something about me. So I said, what could I say? So Bob was probably one of the best baseball coaches there was around, and his record proves it. And he always says to me, you gotta keep working, you gotta do things. I was Bob's coach at the Boys Club, and he's telling me what to do now. So, and there was one word, Bob, what was that word you always told me about? Bob, where are you? What's that word you always says about, worst word in sports?
Potential.
Potential. Now, I got to say this, when I was Bob's coach at the Boys Club, there's not one kid around that had more potential than Bob. So, and before I finish, I want to introduce my family. I have my two son-in-laws here tonight, and I wish they would stand. Kevin Ward and Mike Heimbach. And my two daughters, Debbie and Diane. And then my two grandkids, there's Ella Ward and Adam Ward. And I can't forget my wife, Pat, because I did that at one affair one time. So, Pat. And I wanted to say stuff about the Boys and Girls Club, but I was told, don't, because you will not stop. So, thank you to the committee. You guys just do one heck of a job. I saw firsthand this year, and keep up the good work. There should be like a Hall of Fame just for the committee, because look what they did tonight to bring these people, and it's all done with volunteers. Great job. Thank you.
John Petke. John scored 2 of the longest touchdowns in the history of the annual Thanksgiving Day Battle for the Bell. We still on? I didn't touch it. Yeah, Maury did it. 1, 2, 3. No? Where's it come from?
Got the pad for the light.
We can hear you.
Yeah, but way down there. All right. He scored 2 of the longest touchdowns in the history of the annual Thanksgiving Day Battle for the Bell. In that game, a victory over Bristol Central, he became the only player to have runs of over 75 yards in the same game. At Eastern High, he competed in football and track. He captained both teams in his senior year. He went on to play football for 4 years at Williams College. He was elected captain of the 3rd undefeated team in the 135-year history of Williams football. In 1967, he led Williams to the Little 3 championship with a victory over Amherst. At Williams, he was also a goalie on the freshman hockey team. He played lacrosse, and he rowed for the re-established crew team. He was also named the first recipient of the Hyman Potashnik Scholarship given to a worthy student athlete. He was a delegate to the American Boys State, becoming the first Bristol student to win the Outstanding Boy of the Year award in 1964. After college, he earned a commission in the Marine Corps. He flew helicopters and rose to the rank of captain during the Vietnam War. Coach Johnny Floyd and his dad provided his inspiration. He coached and supported 3 sons and 5 grandkids in Mission Viejo, California. The inductee is John Petke.
Thank you, Hall of Fame. Please accept my sincere thank you for your honor tonight. Actually, I not only want this award, I need this award just to get a seat at my table. My wife, Mimi, of almost 50 years, was inducted into the Skidmore Hall of Fame 3 years ago for her effort in basketball, tennis, captain of the ski team, 40 years as a certified USGA on-course rules official. She returned to competitive golf as a grandmother and won league championship, and she's caddied for all of her boys at the California State Amateur Championships. Mimi and I required our 3 boys to excel in academics, and first they produced degrees in civil engineering, political science, and communications before any of the sports secondary accomplishments were considered worthy. They were all front yard, all backyard, all league. Adam led the league in home runs. Sam was all football player of the year. Jonathan was a state champion in football and baseball at Anaheim Stadium. He chose Berkeley over Harvard and Yale, where he went to Omaha in his first year. He came to Cape Cod in the summer, and he led the Cape Cod Baseball League, batting .400, and was named an All-American and signed with the Cleveland Indians for 3 years. You can see that your Hall of Fame award just gets me a seat at the table with these people. Even more impressive than earning degrees and succeeding in sports, our boys did something unprecedented in NCAA history, and you saw it on the documentary, and I'll just tell you this. We got the worst call on a Friday that a parent gets. Dad, they want to kill the Cal baseball program, and I'm mad. I'm not going to let it happen. And he didn't. He rose with the foundation to raise $1 million in 29 days. And the school said, oh, no, it's not $1 million. You have to raise $10 million to save the program. 5 months later, a phone call came from the dugout at University of Arizona where the coach said, Sam, you did it. You raised $10 million, the program's back, I've got my job, we're going to Omaha. For the last 10 years, the boys have competed for the ability to create an endowment for that baseball program, and they've given to kids in their school, which is the philanthropic commitment that parents can enjoy more than anything academic or athletic. A lot of you know my little brother, my little 6'3" brother, Joe. He played basketball and baseball at Eastern. He loved Jimmy Bates and the Legion program. And he went on to play college basketball for Don Perno at UConn, and he went to become a Marine infantry officer. And after his Marine career, he trained himself to be a scratch golfer. And he was in the golf industry for years. He was at Yale as an assistant pro. And he could get you on any golf course from New York to Maine. Joe was a very gregarious and engaging guy. But he said his Hall of Fame moment came when Jennifer Thompson agreed to marry him. And Jennifer's here tonight with Joe's daughters, Rachel and Erin. And Erin just set all the Bristol Central High School diving records, which shows you another reason why I need this Hall of Fame just to get a seat at this table. I wasn't going to do this, and I may not make it, but Joe, as you know, passed away. He had a massive heart attack in his front yard. And Joe, Nurse Jen, who's delivered 30,000 babies, was there to attend to her husband and to try to give him CPR, and he was, of course, gone. And Jen gave him his last breath on earth as his wife. Before I finish my tribute tonight, I have to single out two people, my dad and Johnny Floyd. And I'm going to ask you to close your eyes and fast backwards to 1919. Babe Ruth had just won with the Boston Red Sox another World Series, 5 World Series since 1902. And a 10-year-old boy on a farmhouse in Terryville found out that Babe Ruth was coming, and he was there when Ruth hit the home run that you're going to celebrate next year on this 100th anniversary. Fast forward now to 1957, Dad bought a house with an unfinished upstairs, and he taught me construction, carpentry, flooring, wallboards, how to set a window square. And my favorite job was digging a septic tank in a sewer by hand with shovels, because I was the most popular kid in the neighborhood. There's a big pile of dirt and this hole in the ground that we could play in. One Friday night, Dad said that let's go to Muzzy Field. Let's go. You're old enough. Let's go see one of the games under the Friday night lights. And oh my God, there they were. I was this little 10-year-old. I raced down to the railing of the dugout and I said, Dad, there's Eddie Apperzees. There's Al Apperzees right here. There's Paul Castelline in the Bristol maroon and white Rams uniform. I'm playing football, Dad. Fast forward 3 years later, Dad was my freshman coach at Eastern, and there was Dave Mills. Where's Dave Mills? In his blue and gray brand new uniforms on the Eastern varsity. And the freshman team had no uniforms. We had gray sweats. And Dad, that was no problem. He went down to the school and he came back with a bag of rags, what you would call a bag of rags. He said, here, try these. I looked and I said, Dad, it's Eddie Apperzees. It's Al Apperzees. It's Paul Castellini. Can we wear these uniforms? The Bristol Eastern freshman team wore the maroon and white uniforms of Eddie and Al Apperzees from 3 years before. That's the kind of guy Dad was. After freshman football was over, I tried out. I abandoned baseball. I realized you can't steal first base. I was a runner. I wasn't going to be a baseball player. I tried out for the track and field team. And Johnny Floyd gave each player, before computers, a handwritten 3x5 workout card. But he made a mistake. He wrote the initials PB, and my initials are JP. I said, Coach, don't you hate that kid to ask a lot of questions? I said, Coach, I think you gave me the wrong ticket. This says PB. And Johnny, in that jolly bass baritone voice that would make Johnny Cash and James Earl Jones sound like Vienna choir boys, he said, PB is not your initials. PB is personal best. Oh, personal best. Okay. But Coach, how do you know my personal best? I don't know. Only you know your personal best. Now let's get to work. My favorite drill with Johnny was he took us across King Street to Page Park where the grass was greener and nicer than on the eastern fields, and he said, take off your shoes and your socks. But Coach, that would mean we'd be barefoot. That's right, Einstein. Guess who the Einstein was? Now just run and come back and tell me what it feels like. He made you feel like you could run faster than you could. That's what he did with everybody. That's what my dad did. He saw the best in everybody. Give me a minute. Coach Floyd. Coach Johnny M. Floyd. Coach Johnny. Coach Petke. Coach Walter Gerhard Petke. Coach Dad. Where do you find people like this? You find people like this in Bristol, Connecticut. Thank you very much.
John, we have the mic back on. You may want to repeat that. Hal Kilby. Began his sports career as a manager and scorekeeper, then went on to become a coach and benefactor of athletics in Bristol through his affiliation with the Bristol Boys Club. A graduate of Emmanuel Lutheran School, he became the manager of the Bristol Central football team for 4 years. While in high school, he was scorekeeper in the Bristol Interchurch Basketball League, the Bristol Boys Club High School League, and also for the American Legion baseball team. After graduating from Springfield College, he served as an assistant coach for the Bristol American Legion's World Series team back in 1984. Then went on to become the team's head coach for 5 years. He's also coached tennis, girls basketball, and freshman football at Central, as well as a number of teams at the Chippens Hill Middle School. In 1976, he was named the Bristol Boys Club Boy of the Year. He remains involved as a member of the board of directors of the Boys and Girls Club here in the city. Welcome into the hall tonight, Hal Kilby.
Congratulations, Hal. Good job.
Okay, I'm not starting my speech right now. I want all those people who time speeches, Mr. Casson, Mrs. Casson, get ready. Go. Good evening. First and foremost, a heartfelt thank you goes to the Bristol Sports Hall of Fame for this honor. This organization not only preserves Bristol sports history, but gives back to the community in very many ways. Congratulations to my fellow inductees on their special night. All of you are so deserving. Congratulations also to the families and friends of the class of 2018. You too have played parts in the stories of tonight's honorees. I'd also like to congratulate those already in the Hall of Fame. The signs hanging in the back of this room serve as a reminder of the contributions you have made to Bristol sports. The list of people I need to thank for contributing to this accomplishment is long, too many to name. The list includes family and friends, coaches and teachers, colleagues with whom I coached and taught, and countless athletes. Thanks to all of you, but a special thank you to 3 loyal and faithful friends, Phil Pirag, Spec Monaco, and Chris Casson, for believing that I belong here. I was overwhelmed and speechless when I was informed I was being inducted. I am still humbled, as I was not a great athlete, if an athlete at all. And I'm not in the same league as many of the Bristol coaches who are in this Hall of Fame. But I learned so much from watching these coaches. And for many years, I committed myself to coaching and making sports fun for the young people of Bristol, a place that so many of us are proud to call home. I feel so fortunate to have taught, volunteered, and coached with so many dedicated and wonderful people. And I coach so many wonderful kids. Coaching and sports are all about relationships. Fortunately for me, many of those relationships have grown into friendships that have lasted many, many years. Many of those friends are here tonight. There are friends from school and the boys club. There's new friends from school and the boys and girls club. There's the guys from my tennis team in the early 90s. Not only are some of them here tonight, but they still reach out to me to get together for some pizza and a cold beverage. We're friends now. One of the kids from my first coaching job in 1980 is here tonight. He will deny this story, but I swear it's true. In 1983, the Legion team was playing at Hall High School. The regular season was nearly complete. We were up one run in the bottom of the sixth inning in a 7-inning game. There were 2 outs, and West Hartford had the bases loaded. The batter ripped a line drive to deep right center field. Our center fielder sprinted toward the fence, jumped, and extended himself parallel to the ground. He caught the ball as he smashed face first into the fence. Without a doubt, it was the greatest catch I've ever seen. I was the first coach out there. Reinhard Walker, where is he? He left. He was on his side, and his blood-covered face was still up against the fence. "Are you okay?" I asked. He lifted his head, looked me in the eye, and said, "Am I still pretty?" That was long before the days of concussion protocols, but clearly, to think that he was pretty was a sign that Reinhard had brain damage long before he hit that fence. That catch clinched us the zone championship, and we went on to win the state title and finish second in the Northeast Regionals. And Reinhard, there he is, after all these years, is a cherished friend. Thanks, Riney. That's what coaching is all about. It's about the friendships and the relationships. It's about working together for a common goal. It's about working hard in school and in your sport so you don't let anyone down. It's about giving your best effort in everything you do. It's about having a winning attitude. It's about teammates and coaches caring about each other. And that's not always easy. Caring can lead to pain when people like Stacy Perini-Klingen and Keith Raffanello leave us way too soon. And there's others. Each one hurts in its own way, but the caring, the love, like life, it goes on. One of the most caring people I've known in a long time, probably forever, is former Legion manager Doc Gilhooly. Doc was a gentleman. He cared about everyone, friend or foe. Many of you probably don't know this about Doc, but he was extremely superstitious. On days of big games, he would cut his lawn multiple times. Thank goodness his lawn was about this big. He would also eat next to nothing on those days. It caught up with him on the night of the state championship game in 1983. About an hour before game time, Doc fainted on the top step of the dugout at Muzzy Field. The head coach tended to Doc while I ran to the park office to call 911. By the time I got back, Doc was seated on the ground, he was alert, and he was talking. Thankfully, everything turned out fine. Several days later, I was talking with Doc about winning the state championship and his passing out on the field. At one point in the conversation, Doc told me that he knew that he had not died and gone to heaven. "Doc," I said incredulously, "how could you possibly know that?" "Easy," he replied. "When I opened my eyes, the first person I saw was Tommy Burns." I know a lot of you know Tommy Burns. You know that, huh? Tonight, I feel like George Bailey at the end of It's a Wonderful Life. Clarence, George's guardian angel, has shared with George that no man is a failure who has friends. Well, just like George, in a large part because of sports and coaching, I am surrounded by the best friends anyone could ever ask for. Thank you, everyone, for being part of this great honor.
Our next inductee, Tamara Stafford Kirk. At Bristol Eastern High School, she was a four-year track and field athlete, winning the Class L state title in 1992 on the high jump. She was also a New England place winner in both the 100-meter hurdles and the high jump. And she still holds the CCC South Championship meet record in the high jump event. She has been an outstanding track and field athlete at Bristol Eastern and also at Campbell University in North Carolina. As a highly successful coach at Bristol Central in cross country and track, she has coached numerous individual state champions as well as several relay teams that have won state and New England honors, teams that also qualified for the national competition. In 2010, she coached Central to the CCIL Class L Cross Country Championship. In all, she has coached 45 conference titles in 3 sports and has had 4 athletes go on to become college All-Americans. Welcome into the Hall of Fame, Tamara Stafford Kirk.
Congratulations, Tamara. Well done.
Thank you. I would like to begin by thanking the Bristol Sports Hall of Fame Committee and all involved with my nomination and selection to the 2018 class. I am honored to join this esteemed group of people. Thank you to the diverse group of men and women who paved the way for me and made it possible for me to stand here this evening. Congratulations to my fellow inductees as well. This speech is a love letter to those who mean the most to me. I am the proud daughter of Claudia Stafford, a kick-ass single mother. She is the strongest woman I know. She raised my brother Jason and me alone. She was our mother and our father, and she continues to be our biggest fan. The 3 of us have a bond that is unbreakable. Sorry, I'm so weak when it comes to this stuff. So strong, but so weak. She was a young mother on her own, but she taught us that hard work pays off and quitting is never an option. Mom, you are my hero. To my family, by blood and marriage. Thank you for believing in me and being here. And to Beth Loretano, who has always been there for us, words cannot express my gratitude. I am honored to share this evening with you. To my baby brother, Jason, I'm getting all the hard stuff out at the beginning here, by the way. My first teammate, my baby brother, Jason. I am proud to be your sister. You have never let me down. Together we are trying to save this world, one student, one athlete, one recycled bottle at a time. Because let's face it, somewhere along the way, our teachers, coaches, and teammates saved us. You are the most sincere person I know. We didn't always have it easy, but we always had each other. Alex is the luckiest little boy in the world to call you daddy. And to your beautiful wife, Jen, thank you for being here tonight and for your friendship. To my girlfriends, I could not make it through this crazy life of teaching, coaching, and most importantly, being a wife and mother without you. You are my sisters, and I thank you. You inspire and challenge me to be a better woman. To my oldest friend, Sharice Floyd Pickering, girl, you are my rock. And to the woman who has been one of the greatest influences in my life, Patricia Tomkill Johnson, PT, this award is as much yours as it is mine. You are my teacher, my coach, my mentor, but most importantly, you are my friend. We have laughed together, cried together, and laughed some more. High school kids need someone to believe in them, to help them through what is one of the toughest developmental times in their lives. The thing is, not many of us admitted it or even knew it at the time. I was lucky enough to have someone step up and do the job without being asked. PT, you were that person for me. Your friendship is everything. To Sherry and Pops Thompson, my first coaches, thank you for taking a chance on a kid who taught herself gymnastics in her living room. Mary Lou Retton, that's my girl. Coach Tony Floyd gave me my first introduction to one of the loves of my life, track and field. Floyd was tough on me. Looking back, he was darn tough on all of us, especially those of us that he believed in. Coach Floyd demanded, yes, demanded, our best. He didn't mince words and he didn't back down, but he wouldn't let you back down either. Back then, I took it personally. Many years later, I can appreciate his passion and his dedication to so many of us. To my BC family and the people in the Bristol community who have supported me along the way, including supervisors, principals, coworkers, and many others, thank you for making my job so rewarding. I am proud to walk into Bristol Central each and every day. Besides my own home, BC is my favorite place, and besides my family and loved ones, there is no group of people I care about more. To my guys, Joe DeFlippi, Bob DeSantis, Tom Bruni, and new to BC, but one of my oldest friends, Kevin Callett, you have been with me through my highest highs and lowest lows, and always have my back. Joe, thank you for taking me under your wing as a young teacher. I got to learn from the best. Bob DeSantis. Bob plays lotto, for those of you who don't know. Wait a minute, you all know. When does Bob DeSantis give up an opportunity to talk about himself? Sorry, Bob. Mostly Bob talks about what he would do if he hit lotto. But yesterday he said to me, and I quote, "We already hit lotto. Phys ed and athletics didn't need me. I needed it." He was very enlightening this week when I needed it most. Bob, you are like a father to me. As your work daughter, I give you permission to retire in June. There's a group of people here tonight and many others out conquering the world who have changed my life, my athletes, my extended family. To the countless athletes I've coached who toiled behind the scenes without recognition, I commend you. You have built our programs and you will always be the backbone of who we are. To the athletes that I have coached who have made me look like I know what the heck I'm doing, this honor is yours. You have done the work, given of yourselves fully, and most did it blindly, trusting in the process. From Nicole Nolting, Jillian Sullivan, and Stefan Jordan, three of my first athletes, to Kanan Conrad, one of my recent graduates running at Southern, and all the athletes in between. Look at what we did. Look at what we are doing. You did this. It hasn't been easy. It's a grind, but we love the grind. The title coach is one of my most cherished. I helped raise many of you. I will always refer to you as my kids. When I think back over 20 years of coaching my beloved teams, I don't think about the wins and losses. I think about the relationships, the faces, the people. I know I'm successful because of the bond that I have with you. To all my current and former athletes and the parents and guardians that trust me with your children, thank you. Being your coach is the greatest accomplishment of my professional life. And to my athletes that have come back home, unbelievably 5 of them, thank you for giving me my second wind. Matt Boisenalt, Kevin Taylor, Paul Ruskowski, Kiara Bonilla, and Alasia Griebel, it is my turn to learn from you. I am honored to coach beside you. To the 2018 BCXC Boys Cross Country Team, Class L runners-up, and to all the BC Cross Country and Track and Field athletes that are currently part of our programs, keep dreaming and believing. A dear friend recently sent me a Nike ad that reads, "Dreams have no expiration date. Don't ever forget it." I'm almost done. To my husband, Doug, God bless you. God bless you for putting up with me. From all-day track and cross-country meets to my sleepless nights over coaching decisions, tough losses, and the students and athletes I worry about daily. You are the person I want to start and end my days with. You accept me for who I am. You have made my hometown our hometown. We are raising the 2 most amazing girls in the world, Lily Simone and Emmeline May. We are proof that teamwork does make the dream work. I love you. My favorite event as a track and field athlete was the 100-meter hurdles, and the race is a great metaphor for life. Life is a never-ending hurdle race. It feels so good to clear a hurdle, and when you get really good at it, you start to clear them with ease. You run over the hurdles with grace and speed and feel unstoppable. But don't get lazy, because the better you get at it, the faster the next hurdle comes at you. No matter how good you get, you're going to hit a lot of those hurdles. Some hurdles will even knock you down, oftentimes when you least expect it. I have always gotten up and attacked the next hurdle, and I always will. Lily Simone and Emmeline May, there is nothing you cannot conquer. Always be genuine, always think before you speak, always be relentless in the pursuit of your dreams, and always surround yourself with people of integrity. Never settle, ever. You are my girls, my heart and my soul. No award in the universe will ever top being your mama. I love you up, I love you down, I love you all around this town. Thank you.
Our next inductee is Bill Sweet. For nearly a half century, he has stood as a steady guiding force for the Bristol Eastern soccer teams. He played soccer for 4 years at Eastern and also ran track in college for Tilton and Ithaca. After a short stint as JV coach at Eastern, he became head coach in 1970.
In a career spanning nearly 800 games, his teams won 3 conference titles and compiled a 60% winning percentage. During that time, he coached numerous All-State players, as well as 2 players who earned all New England honors. In 1994, he was selected to coach the Connecticut Senior Bowl All-Stars, and that same year, he was named the New England Coach of the Year. The Connecticut High School Coaches Association named him its Soccer Coach of the Year in 1999. From 1992 through 95, he led Eastern to 43 consecutive regular season wins without a defeat. And in 2000, he was the winner of the Ralph Papazian Leadership Award. This inductee is Bill Sweet.
Congratulations, Bill.
I'd like to thank the committee for this honor, and I'd like to give congrats to all the other honorees. And if I might mention Todd Ziogas, because he's coming next, but he was a joy to have on the field. He played with a smile on his face, and he gave us energy every time he played. Wonderful guy. He deserves the honor. I've been lucky for 50 falls to go outside and work with a team of athletes who wanted to do something positive, and I was along for the ride all these years. Hopefully I molded these guys into responsible young men and sometimes better soccer players. I had lots of help. I was blessed with good health. I have a strong family behind me, dedicated coaches, and willing players. I'd like to give thanks especially to my parents who are no longer with me. My father, who was an old baseball and football player, but he taught me the idea of all sports are valuable, and he lived that. And as a matter of fact, he was the one that wanted to see Pele when he came to the Yale Bowl in the 70s, and we went there. I remember my mother with a Red Sox cap on, tossing the ball to me in the driveway. And then I move on to my brothers, Charlie and David. Charlie was also a captain at the Bristol Eastern soccer team, one of the first. And we used to compete in the backyard, we'd compete on the driveway, we'd compete playing basketball, whatever. Also, my 2 children, Katie and Adam, and I just was so lucky to have them at Bristol Eastern with me. I was able to watch them compete. In fact, in Adam's case, I was able to coach him also. And the joy of just seeing them grow into successful people, even though they moved to California, I don't really hold that against them, but they are further away. And now Katie with her husband Judd and Adam did make it here today, so I'm very appreciative of that. Most important person of my family, of course, is my wife Margaret, who's been the rock for 46 years. She's the one that took the grief when I lost. She's the one that took the grief when I had one of my 1,000 ties or whatever the number is. There are many of them. She steadied me all the time, and thank you very much, Margaret. I also have to give thanks to the various athletic directors who continue to bring me on. And I'll start with Tom Monahan, who hired me and then brought me back, and then others such as Ralph Papazian, Joanne Galati, and currently Chris Casson has that load on his shoulders too. Special thanks go to 2 guys that we don't hear much about at Eastern, but we should, Jim Tetro and John Stavens, who are behind the scenes, and they keep everything steady and make sure that the ship rolls on evenly. When I set out in the summer of '69, sounds like a song, but Bryan Adams, okay. When I set out in the summer of '69 and then into '70, I decided that we've got to do something in Bristol as far as soccer at Eastern, because the teams we were playing in the CCIL, the Manchesters, the Wethersfields, the Connors, the Halls, all had youth soccer. Bristol didn't have it at that time. So I sat down and I remembered what my old history teacher at Eastern had said, John Whitcomb, great teacher. And I remember he had introduced to us John Smith, who brought the colonists over and talked to them in America and gave them a short little phrase. He said to them, no work, no food. And I adapted that, along with my various coaches over the years. I said, no work, no play. And the theme of the Bristol Eastern soccer team, and anyone who's played us know that we work, we try to outwork any team that we play. And that's been consistent, I hope, over the 50 years that I've been there. I have 4 coaches I'd like to mention. There's so many, by the way, volunteers, assistants, that I just can't mention them all in this period of time. But the first one was David Sage, who was hard-nosed, old school, and he was my first assistant coach. The second one was trained by Coach Sage, and that's Mike Green. And I had Mike as an assistant, the most loyal guy you could expect. 37 years he was there. And in those 37 years, he was constantly honing his trade. He was a great developer of conditioning. He looked at every way we could condition the athletes, because if we're going to work, we better be in shape. And he also worked to improve himself coaching goalies. And as many people who follow soccer know, we had some of the best goalies across the state for many years, and we still do. The third guy was trained by Coach Green, and that's Bunty Ray. And many of his fans are here at the tables, I understand. But he's a master tactician, a great motivator, and I've also named him now as my public relations director because of all the people that have come. The last person I'd like to name as a coach is Jerry Yates, who was the captain of my team in '81. That year we won a tournament game for the first time. We'd been in the tournament a few other times, but we won an overtime game. A guy named Kirk Gabrielson kicked in a goal. The reason I mentioned Jerry, he was a single captain, the first one I ever had, but he went on to become president of the Bristol Soccer Club. And Roland Corbin had done so much work in Bristol with soccer, and Jerry picked up some of this along with some other fellows, but he became the guy who put together the charter for the Bristol Soccer Club, and he secured basically the soccer field that many of my players have played on in the last 20 years or so, the Bristol Junior Soccer Club field. So I really like to thank Jerry for that. Oftentimes at banquets at Bristol Eastern for soccer, what I do is I bring out a bag of balls, soccer balls, and I announce various rewards, and then I take the ball and I kick it right to that player. Sometimes I miss. I was going to do that tonight with a few guys that I did want to mention, but the problem with that is that my skills have diminished a little bit, and also that there might be some collateral damage too, so I didn't want to do that. But I did want to mention a few people. The oldest returning player here is Bob Smith, who I think is sitting in the back. Captain of my first team, 1970. I didn't know Bob was coming tonight, and I met him downstairs because I was going to give this award, sorry, to Jim Donovan, a local lawyer, but, you know, Jim was 2 years later. Although Jim claimed, as lawyers often do, that he actually was on my JV team while Bob was playing with the varsity with Ray Holmstrom, was the coach above me. So really that, you know, he was the oldest one. One other guy I'll mention, 1975, is Speck Monaco, who many of you know. And Speck was my captain in '75. He was my first all-state player. But more importantly, I remember Speck, and this reminds me of other Eastern players, who I've had a bond, as Tammy has mentioned. On October 28th, in 1975, he and another captain, Bob Sage, came to Margaret's hospital room and brought some flowers because that was the night, that was the birth of my first child, Katie. Thank you, Speck. Another award that I would give a kick a ball out, I think I could reach him, he's right over here. The guy who traveled the furthest, and that, well, it could be my son, he's close, but he had to come. So I would say Julian Medina, Dr. Julian Medina, traveled from San Francisco to be here tonight. We saw pictures of some of the great teams I have, and I can't mention all the players, but I can mention the guy who put in the greatest free kick I think we've ever had at Eastern. And we used to run with Coach Green. We'd sit down and we'd decide things. And now Coach Ray, we've got these master plays. We're going to do this skill, this. We're going to run, play green, play red, whatever it might be. So we had a kick at Muzzy Field, and Chris Gillia was there then. And we said to Chris, run, play orange, or whatever it might be. Chris goes, okay. Chris takes a kick. It's not play orange. He puts it right in. And so I can't complain. It's like a baseball coach, you know, bunt, but you hit a home run. Oh, yeah, thank you. Anyways, I asked Chris after the game, I said, Chris, you didn't run play orange. What happened? Chris says, well, I saw a hole. Well, later on we saw a video, or it wasn't a video in those days, a film of what he saw. He saw a space between the wall that was set up, had about this much between it. That's how accurate he was, and that's probably the reason he had 63 goals. But that was the greatest kick I've ever seen. For all the players that have played over the years, when we play Central, it's quite a game. And I'd kick 2 balls out for this one, and I'd go to the same table here. Some of the greatest moments I can remember were the speeches at halftime given by either Coach Green or Coach Ray. And those speeches scared me. I mean, I would stand by the door just in case something broke loose. But any of you that remember those, I can remember one just 3 years ago with Coach Ray. We were down, I think it was by a goal, and normally we'd just meet up above on the field at halftime or go into the locker room. And Coach Ray has a knack. If they're 10 minutes in the locker room, he can spend 9 minutes and 59 seconds. And he did a number, and we came out and won the game. So I'd like to say, you deserve the balls that I'm giving you. As coaches at Eastern, we've tried to work hard, and that's what I've aimed at. And I think Coach Moylan is here. I played against him, and thanks to Coach Moylan and Coach Carrier at Central, combatants. Coach Lodovico's not here from St. Paul. Those were great matches too. We've had battles, and I appreciate all the players that participated in those battles because we asked a lot out of you. If you played for Coach Sage, you had double sessions. In those double sessions, you probably ran more than Tammy's cross-country teams have run all season in 1 week. We ran a lot. We learned over the years, by the way, that's not the best way to train in soccer, but that's what we did. But in that, I thank all the players. As coaches at Eastern, then, and I guess I'm echoing what others have said, we never quit. We just run out of time. And that's the way we go into every battle. We never quit. It's just the clock that may stop us. And speaking of time, I think my time's up. Thank you very much for this honor.
Our final inductee tonight is Todd Ziogas. was a three-sports star at Eastern High, earning all conference honors and all-state recognition in basketball, soccer, and in baseball. In soccer and in basketball, he led Eastern to championships in the CCC South Division. He was the starting second baseman on the 1994 state championship Bristol American Legion baseball team, a team coached, by the way, by his uncle and Bristol Sports Hall of Fame inductee, Jim Ziogas. He is also the fourth highest scorer in Eastern's basketball history, 908 career points. As a soccer player, he was a three-year starter and captain of Eastern's undefeated CCC South Division. That back in 1993, won that title. In baseball, in his senior year, he batted .405 and scored a team-high 33 runs. And he also played in the All-Star Festival at Fenway Park. He went on to an outstanding basketball career at Pace University. He started in all 110 games that he played from 1995 to 99, earning numerous honors and awards. He is the Pace University all-time record holder in career assists and the second leading scorer in school history with 1,892 points. In 2016, he was inducted into the Pace University Hall of Fame. Welcome into our Hall of Fame tonight, Todd Ziogas.
Congratulations, Todd. I want to start by thanking all of the Bristol Sports Hall of Fame members and committee for inducting myself and all of the other inductees tonight. As we know, without God and Bunty Ray, none of this would be possible. Thanks, Bunty. But all kidding aside, there's probably 70 guys over there that played for Coach Sweet and Coach Green, myself and my brother included, that, are here to support Coach. Some of my best times, I was a basketball player, but I played three sports, and some of my best times were with you guys and with all the guys here. So I really appreciate all the time you dedicate to the blue and gray. Having left Bristol almost 25 years ago, a lot has changed in this city, but there are two things that have never changed for me about Bristol. Those two things are sports and family. Bristol's a special place to me because of those two words, sports and family. Bristol is a sports family. And thinking about what makes Bristol sports so special, I came to realize it is the respect the athletes of this city have for its rich sports history. Athletes like Steve Peichel, Martin and Malcolm Huckabee, Mark Noon, Jim Bates. Being a basketball player, these are guys that I looked up to, and at some point in my life came across, either playing against them, playing with my uncles at the boys club. These were guys that I looked up to and wanted to aspire to be. I respected them, and I always looked up to them. I was lucky. I had to look no further than my own family to see what competition and sports were all about. I had an older brother and sister, father, uncles, my father and my uncles, who were all college athletes and successful in their own right. They were all my role models. Whether I was spending the time at the Bristol Boys Club or playing at Rockwell, or playing for the Rockwell Park basketball team in the summer, or playing for the American Legion team, or a Friday night high school game under the lights at Muzzy against Central, Bristol and its people offered me all the opportunities to play sports a young kid could ever want. My father, Greg Ziogas, created opportunities for a group of young 10-year-old boys at the Boys Club. Kids like Ryan House, Brendan Floyd, Mike Farrell, Craig Yard, to name a few, were put in the Boys Club van and drove anywhere and everywhere to find competition and teams to challenge us. We would wear the old, as you saw in the picture, the old Plainville High School uniforms that were probably 2 sizes too big. No frills, no AAU, no fancy sneakers, no annoying parents. Just kids being kids and lifelong memories playing ball. I feel old making that statement because times have changed, but it's true. Or as a young middle school athlete, going with my uncle Bob Freemuth and my dad to Cocoa Beach, Florida, for baseball training camp with Plainville High School. Or Joe DeFlippi, I mentioned tonight, opening up the gym for Ryan House, myself, and Brendan Floyd to play one-on-one in the middle of the night. Summer nights, we'd knock on his door, he'd come out, think we were crazy, but he'd open the gym for us. And I remember those things. Coach Green helping me and other athletes do strength conditioning on the hot summer days, always willing to help and never want anything in return. This may be my last chance to thank a lot of people publicly, but I wanted to mention a bunch of coaches that have helped me along the way. In McCabe Waters Little League, Joe Zadun, Tommy Pons, all of my uncles, who many of them are here in the Hall of Fame, all of them played a role in my sports career. Ron Jones, Bob Freemuth, Ken Capodice, Connecticut Basketball School, Rex Hamilton at the Boys Club. Rex, my son, can you stand up for a second and just wave to everybody? So my son, his name is Rex, and there's no coincidence there. Roland Corbin, Bristol Youth Soccer, and at Bristol Eastern. Chinky Driscoll, Mark Redmond, Mike Green, Bill Sweet, and Coach Giovinazzo. One quick point about Coach. I was able to start, I think they mentioned 3 years in 3 sports, start varsity. And Coach G, I don't think it was ever easy for him as a young, scrawny, athlete to put me in the spot of getting a lot of playing time when we had a lot of kids that were older than me that probably deserved it. But he gave me an opportunity to play from the second that I got involved with him, and I really appreciate that, Coach. You always had the faith. I always knew after the first game my sophomore year, I think Coach Giovinazzo threw his hand through a locker, and I said, for the next 3 years, I just got to figure out how to stay out of his way. And I did. I did what he told me to do. One last coach at Pace University, Darryl Halloran. He's no longer with us. He passed away, actually, during one of my games when I was playing in college in New York City. But he was a gentleman who was very special to me, someone I think about, oddly enough, almost daily, and was someone who really was instrumental in my life. He saw me throw one, I think it might have been a behind-the-back pass against New Britain High School, and he offered me a scholarship on the spot. So, Coach, thank you so much for that. Sports, and especially basketball, has forced me to grow in so many ways I could have never imagined. Basketball has forced me to play and live outside my comfort zone, what normally I'm a kind of, Coach said, a smiling kid. But when I got on the court, I learned that I had to be a different person in order to be successful. It taught me about commitment, perseverance, coexisting with people of all backgrounds, and dealing with success and coping with failure. All of these things have helped me today in managing my own investment management business in New York City. All of these qualities I've obtained from sports and help me every day to run my business. As many of you know, I am a father of 5 children. I cannot do it without my wife, Dana. She is smart, diligent, and yeah, she sometimes likes to yell at the referees, but she loves our kids, and I'm pretty sure she still loves me. To my kids, Grace, Stella, Hope, Rex, and Faith, AKA puppy dogs, I want you guys to find something you love to do. Work at it every day, pursue it relentlessly, and have dreams for yourself. Your parents will be there every step of the way. I have been lucky to have found sports. I wish nothing more for you than to find something you love to do as well. Lastly, to my parents, Mom and Dad, if you could just raise your hand. Mom. Now that I have 5 kids, I can better understand why you parented us in the way you did. You always provided what we needed, but you never gave us anything. To see your children growing up, play at college athletics, have good jobs, have children of their own, must be extremely fulfilling. I can only hope my children follow in the footsteps of all the other Ziogas family members who use sports as a catalyst for their life. We have watched you both work hard and help others. My mom would cheer when my father would coach Plainville High School soccer and basketball. My dad was always coaching others and helping young athletes. I can remember asking him after numerous games that he would coach, "Dad, I'm hungry. Can we stop at McDonald's?" And he would tell me, "I have to drop off my players in Hartford or New Britain or Plainville first, and then you can eat." That taught me that if you give yourself to others, that it will eventually come back to you. Today, you can see in the booklet, I think there's a picture. I'm the director of a CYO basketball program in New Rochelle, New York. I get excited every time I walk in the gym to coach or work out a young group of kids. It brings me back to the days of the Bristol Boys Club or practice times in the gym with my father. It gives me so much joy. In the end, I moved to New York and I have a family there, but I've taken the values I learned in Bristol and I'm spreading them to a new generation of young athletes. Thank you all for this great honor, and thank you all for making Bristol a special sports family.
How about all of the inductees tonight? Why don't they all stand one more time? Hey, Dave.
Thank you, Tom. Thank you all for being here with us tonight. Before we depart, we're going to unveil the new sign that will join all the others at our next induction, which will be on November 22nd, 2019. Thank you all for coming, and we'll see you next year.